sé que me extrañas cada día. Si perdió el amor, lo siento, fue mala mía. Si fuera un cuento de fantasía, te llevaría a un paraíso y te besaría, pero look at me, why didn't
Welcome once again to another episode of 2025 of the Cardboardcave podcast. Super excited of today's episode because today it's spoiler season and we're going to be talking about the cards that have been presented to us of the upcoming set Aetherdrift. Last time we spoke about our thoughts about this year and as well Innistrad Remastered and among other things. Plus we had a special preview of an upcoming secret layer, and we do have another card for you guys. We do. But in all, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. And as well, if you guys love to spice up your commander or your decks, go to altersleeve.com/cardboardcave. Like that, you guys can get 10% off your order or use our code Cardboardcave as well. Like that, you guys can get 10% off your order. And this year, we're everywhere, guys, literally everywhere. And as well, if you guys can't watch our videos, it's fine. It's super fine. Go to your favorite podcast format and listen to our episodes. We're now available everywhere. Let it be Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, anywhere. You can listen to our podcast. And nothing. Let's go ahead and no further ado, and let's bring in all of the other team members of the CBC podcast. So let's go ahead and bring in our favorite director, Alejandro.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Ale? How you doing?
I'm good. Ready to talk about Vroom Vroom. Let's vroom vroom.
Let's vroom vroom. And as well, let's go ahead and bring in our master of the dark arts, the one and only JP.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, JP, how are you doing?
Could be better, but pretty good. All things considered. Let's talk about some Fast and the Furious.
Some Fast and the Furious. So, guys, you guys saw how the intro went, and I mentioned last episode we had a preview card of a secret layer. This episode as well, we have a preview card of the upcoming secret layer of Magic the Gathering. And it's not going to be on your Magic Con Festival box. That will include secret layer products and a mystery booster box too as well. But this one is going to be exclusively on secretlayer.com in a website near you. So guys, here is our preview card.
Of course.
Dom Toretto,
Yes.
the driver.
You sure it's a secret layer, or is it just like a secret layer? You know,
It's exclusively on our website. You have to buy it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
exclusively on our
it's a
website. Yes.
secret layer.
Yeah.
So it's Dom Toretto, driver, 2 and Boros, legendary creature, human rogue. It says here, whenever Dom Toretto crews a vehicle, that vehicle gets +2/+0 and gains your choice of haste, first strike, or lifelink until end of turn. Has vehicle craft. If you control 3 or more vehicles, whenever Dom Toretto crews a vehicle, untap Dom Toretto. Then it's a 4/2 and says, there's no way he's going to make that jump. Tank driver's last words.
Really
Oh,
powerful. That
Really
vehicle
powerful.
craft is straight up broken.
Yes.
It's like, hey guy, you have 3 vehicles. I'm gonna attack with all 3 vehicles and my Dom Toretto. So that's crazy. It's crazy strong.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna present you guys all the previews that have been submitted, and as well we'll go up our way with the special guest and as well the commanders because they gave us the commanders as well. So let's go ahead and bring in the previews here. Boop. And there we go. And I gotta say, JP, what did I say last time when we did the previous episode? That we sometimes get things right. Probably Wizard of the Coast might think that we have somebody inside telling us the details. But hey, you got it, dude. There you go.
What I get?
Here's your card. Basri.
Oh yeah. I did mention Basri, but I thought Basri would be like a planeswalker.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah,
still, you
no.
got it. You got it still as a feature.
I felt like it was kind of obvious. Like Basri is gonna come in.
Mhm.
He's like the only Amonkhet planeswalker we didn't know if they were like not sparked anymore. but
Yeah.
now we
Mhm.
Now
know
we have confirmation. Yep.
they do not have their spark.
Nope.
So
They have a car instead.
yeah, they have a legendary creature.
Yep.
They have a broom broom.
They have a broom broom.
The thing is that in this set, so we're not only getting vehicles, we're getting mounts as well. So we're
Very
getting,
few.
yeah,
For
there's
now,
few for now.
there might
Exactly.
be more. I feel like they're just gonna
Fair
try to do
enough.
like an
Yeah, yeah,
even.
yeah. There might be
Yeah,
more.
there might be more.
So we have here the first six spoilers. There's an obvious note in the room. A lot of them are just the same card with different artwork. So JP, do you want to take over? Want to start with the card that you mentioned on
Sure.
the previous episode?
So Basri, tomorrow's champion, is 1 white mana for a 2/1 human knight. He has pay 1 mana and tap him. You exert Basri and create a 1/1 white creature token with lifelink. He also has cycling, and when you cycle this card, cats you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Uh, that's a very decent creature. Just 1 mana, 2/1, and can create creatures. This is limited All Star.
Mm-hmm.
I will mention that this has a normal art, a borderless art, and then the normal art with like a special border, and that's like
Pokemon border.
the yellow
Yeah,
border,
the
and
yellow border is
yeah.
called the finish line border.
So a lot of these cards have that extra border, and ever since they decided that black border and silver border are not how they determine whether a card is legal or not legal,
Mhm.
according to like the unsets, and they decided to do like the little acorn,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that gave way to experiment with borders.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Gotta
this
gotta
is
keep it fresh.
actually nice and exciting. The only other time I've seen that they have experimented with borders was in a secret layer where the border is like a red border.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I'll grab the next card is Bulwark Ox is white and one creature ox mount. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Sacrifice this creature. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and it has saddle one. That means that you can tap any number of other creature cards with a total power of one, and you can mount the ox, and it's a 2/2.
Nice. It's interesting. So the one that has the yellow border, is that the one that's the box stopper, or is it the one with the different art? Because there's one that's supposed to be like there's a few that's supposed to be box stoppers, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or am I going crazy?
I know that there are box toppers, but I don't think that they mentioned which ones they are, at least because I saw that some of the Gear Hulks have the yellow bordered in this like type of artwork as well.
Yeah, we gotta check that. I mean, we'll check eventually. But yeah, I assumed it was like the ones that had the yellow border were gonna be sort of the box stoppers because the art it's slightly different, not slightly because of the artwork, because of the colors. Which you have to think. Some of them are really well designed with the yellow border in mind. For example,
Mm-hmm.
Glossary. But then you go to the Bulwark Orc, and it's like, oh god, we forgot that it's supposed to be yellow. So let's just replace the color and ruin the
Yeah.
art as a result, because it's obvious it wasn't meant to have that yellow tint in the background of the ox. So
I imagine that it was that whoever they assigned the artist, John,
yeah.
John, probably they told him like, hey, we need this artwork like this, and then they were like, when he passed it on, probably they didn't like the background. They're like, ah, no worries, let's just put yellow and make it all yellow.
I think it's a design thing. They probably realized they wanted to make it more uniform, so the main character in the art pops out. And they've been known to mess with artwork before. They did it when they did those black and white cards for the Innistrad. The last time we went to Innistrad,
Yeah, double
they didn't
feature.
they didn't give a heck. They just put them black and white, regardless of how the artwork would interact with black and white. But yeah. Also, I want to mention the bulwark orc, that the ox that has the different artwork. It really gives me wacky Racer vibes. So,
Yeah.
That's something I wanted to mention. Yes,
yes,
this whole set has a very unfinity, unstable
yes, it does.
feeling towards it.
Vibes. Yeah.
Like the art, especially in the artwork.
Yep.
And there's one specific artwork I immediately think of,
Hmm.
and I'll show you. We'll see it later
Yeah.
on. I'll make sure I remember.
Yeah, of course. I guess I'll mention Valor's flagship. It's a mythic, 4 colorless and 3 white for legendary artifact vehicle 7/7. It has flying, first strike, lifelink. You can crew it for 3. It also has cycling, so you can cycle it for X2 and a white. When you cycle this card, create X11 colorless pilot creature tokens with this token, saddles, mounts, and cruise vehicles as though it has power. It was power 2 or greater. So you can make a bunch of little pilots if you cycle it, and then you can put a big Valor on the field, or put some vehicles or mounts on the field, and you can crew them.
Immediately,
Mhm.
someone mentioned that this slots right into Grease Fang decks in Pioneer
Yes.
because you cycle it away
Mhm.
for 3 mana and you draw a card. It's already in the graveyard, and then you can play your Grease Fang and go off.
Reanimate it.
Or
Yep.
you can get a backup plan of creating a lot of 1/1 creatures.
Yep. This also
Okay.
reminds me a lot of Shark Typhoon. It kind of gives you kind of like that idea of a good finisher,
Mm-hmm.
but you can play it for sort of cheaper and have either blockers or set up for other vehicles and mounts. So that's kind of cool.
And then see, there's so much artwork. You have the regular, you have the
Yeah.
finish line, then you have like the borderless, and then you have the finish
Borderless
line,
finish line.
borderless.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really committing to a lot of these different art styles and frames and stuff, which is cool because
Hey.
you know more. So
No, exactly. It's more artwork, more
Yeah.
probably the cards won't go that expensive, at
Yeah.
least the
Yes.
normal artwork.
Mhm.
But hey, we got Mall Drifter back, but instead of
Mhm.
Mall Drifter, we have a Hall Drifter. So it drifts, you know?
Yes.
So it's a Hull Drifters 3 and 2 blue, 3/2 crew 3. When this vehicle enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. Sure. Um sure. We
Eh,
needed that.
it's a Q limited. It's not gonna be
Yeah.
that good, but yeah, it's just cute.
What is interesting though is repurposing.
Yes, so
Yes.
yummy, so good,
So
so
two and a
tasty.
blue for an artifact. You pay 2 mana and tap it. You sacrifice another artifact. You search your library for an artifact with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery.
I
So
need
this
it.
is a blue birthing pod for artifacts.
I
We
need
already
at
had
least
a
7
white
copies.
I need it.
artifact
7.
set, a white version of this
Yep.
in Oswald Fiddlebender, and we had a
I
blue version of this general type of effect for instant and sorceries that really didn't work as well as people wanted, like the design space wanted it to.
Mhm.
But this seems very, very close to what you want to be doing.
Oh yeah.
Birthing Pod is 3 and a Phyrexian mana, and to activate, it's 1 Phyrexian mana, one green Phyrexian mana. So no, actually, it's 1 and 1 green Phyrexian mana.
Yeah.
So Birthing Pod, in theory, is 4 mana to activate because you pay the 2 life every single time.
Mhm.
So you're gonna be paying 4 life to cast it and 4 life, and 2 life to cast it and 2 life to activate it. This is 5 mana to
Mhm.
activate, and you can't use any of your life. So this is a lot fairer. This is interesting also for the fact that maybe it'll create decks around it, just like Birthing Pod does.
Mhm.
Do you think like Oswald Fiddlebender plus Repurposing Bay is enough to redundancy to make like a blue white Birthing Pod artifact deck in Modern or something like that? Maybe it's a bit too slow.
Definitely, you just need to have like a good sequencing of really good artifacts you want to fetch for. So
Yeah.
it all depends on what Pioneer has at their disposal. Obviously, like a finisher will be Phyrexian Portal. I mean, Portal to Phyrexia will be a great finisher, but how do you get there? You know what I mean? Like, can you play Mind Slaver in Pioneer? You can't because it hasn't been reprinted again for Pioneer specifically.
But immediately, Oswald Fiddlebender, like the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set, that's Pioneer legal, right?
Adventure in the Forgotten. Was that the commander set or the standard set? If it's the
I think
standard
I'm pretty
set,
sure that was a standard set, no?
then yes, you can definitely play it. Yeah.
So that's if that's legal. Oswald, it's like having an Oswald. If you can activate Oswald, sacrifice something for 2 mana, get this.
Yep.
Pay 2 mana, sacrifice something else. You know,
Yeah.
like there's a sequencing there.
Yeah.
There's something you can do there.
Oh, I know you can find finishers. Like this
Mhm.
this has I feel like it has enough redundancy, or you can just try to build it with repurposing Bay because it's an artifact. It's hard to interact with, so you can just try to set up and just ramp with
Yeah,
treasures
this
and
this card is actually as well really good for like the Shurikai CDH. If you're not running like Proteus stuff, if you're not running that version, you can have this, and this can help out so much to find
I
like
mean,
key pieces
this can just search for the Proteus staff.
as well. Yeah. No, but I mean like if you don't want to like build
Yeah,
the
the Polykraken version is a
exactly.
bit
So
parasitic.
exactly. So if not, you can build you can build it with this, and hey, you can look for whatchamacallit, Izzakron Scepter.
Mhm.
That's one. You can look for if
You
you
think
have
Kinnan would
money.
run this for like a basalt monolith?
Mm,
Maybe I mean if
maybe.
it's CDH, I think it's a bit too slow. You'll probably win faster than with this, but
Yeah.
it's redundancy. Like you'll probably have it in the deck most likely, but it's
Mhm.
not your go-to card. It's just like if you so happen to have it, then
Exactly. Yeah.
you can sack like a 2 mana rock, which there's plenty in Kinnan, and then you just get the third one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a few of those for sure.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
Ooh, I want
Okay,
to talk about that guy.
I
go
fucking
ahead.
love that
Weird
little
little
dude.
dude. The weird little homunculus.
I love
Vin
homunculus.
Wix.
Yeah,
Vin Wix,
Vinwix.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Verbose host, colorless and a blue for a 0/4 legendary creature homunculus. Start your engine. It's a new mechanic. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once each of your turns when an opponent loses 1 life. Max speed is 4. You have no maximum hand size as a baseline. When you achieve max speed, if you would draw a card, draw 2 instead. So this is a new mechanic. It's the start your engines. The idea here is you're trying to ping. That would be the easiest way to kind of like achieve it. You just casually ping an opponent for 1 each of your turns, and by turn
Hmm.
3, theoretically, you can achieve max speed. And it's something that's not a counter. It's
Yeah,
something that's sort of like an experience counter. It's
it
like
kind
outside of the
yeah,
game.
it kind of works like the ring mechanic.
Yes, exactly. So no one can
Yeah.
interact with it, thankfully. And then once you have max speed, until now they haven't revealed a card that makes you lose speed. So theoretically, once you achieve max speed, you just have max speed for the rest of the game.
Just like the
So
One Ring. Like
exactly.
once the ring has tempted you enough times,
Mhm.
once it's at 4, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's like where they took the inspiration for
Hmm.
designing this. The ring was like very like like the tempting ring. It was very balanced,
Yeah.
and it is very strong at 4, but for the most part, it's very balanced, and you do nothing unless someone is a ring bearer.
Exactly.
So, like in this case, max speed does nothing unless you have something that does something with max speed. So
Correct.
I feel
Exactly.
like it's very balanced and very flavorful and
Yeah.
very well designed.
But
Hmm.
once you achieve max speed with this card,
It's
a
there, yeah.
brainstorm automatically draws you 6 cards, for example.
6,
That's
Hmm.
like
yeah.
that's crazy. You return
That's
2. Like
crazy.
you're gonna go crazy with it. I saw that thing. I'm like, I need to find pingers so I can have like a weird pinger blue deck, mono blue deck, so I can just try to achieve
Psychosis Crawler says each opponent loses 1 life whenever you draw a card.
exactly. And you know the best one, prodigal sorcerer. You tap
Sorcerer,
it
yeah.
and you ping
Oh
someone.
yeah.
You go old school with it, but
Oh
it's a cool
god,
card.
it's a cool card. I actually do like it. I love it. Even the artwork looks cool. I love it.
Mhm.
We do get a
I-
reprint.
Oh yes,
yes.
we do. Get a
I
pretty cool
love
reprint.
Bloodgast.
Yeah, pretty good reprints. Pretty good reprints.
Take it away, JP.
Yeah, Bloodgast is black for a vampire spirit 2/1. This creature can't block. this creature has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life and has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, you may return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Basically, this thing just never stays dead. It is always coming back. It is always so much value, and I love this card. This is one of my favorite cards in the entirety of Magic.
This is gonna
Nice.
definitely see play in standard.
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay. Next rare card we have is
Yeah.
Crypt Collar Chariot. So it's a 3 and black artifact vehicle, 5/5 that has menace, and it says whenever you discard one or more cards, create that many tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and it has crew 2.
It is so strong.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
strong.
That is so that like at 4 mana, this is one of the strongest effects for that
Mm-hmm.
I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Back when I can't even remember what commander deck brought Verena.
Yeah.
Verena is like a zombie lord that she says whenever you attack with zombies, you draw that many cards and discard that many cards.
There
Oh
you go.
look, I attacked with that many zombies. I drew 10. Like attack with 5. I draw 5 cards. I discard 5 cards. This makes me 5 2/2s. That's
Damn.
crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's
It's
too
also
much.
a callback to the Isekai
Esika's chariot. Yeah.
Chariot. Yeah, I like
Mhm.
it because you only need one zombie to be able to crew it, so you can just turn 4 do this, turn 5 you do some looting effect, and you automatically can attack with it. It has menace too,
Yeah.
so it can go crazy pretty quickly.
Okay, here we go with the next ones.
Quag?
I think
it
it's Quag,
Quag or
Quag or
Quag?
Quag. One of
I
those
think it's
two.
Quag.
I think it's Quag. Quag Feast? Quag?
Quag Feast. Let's say Quag Feast.
That's not
Let's say
because
Quag Feast.
Quag Feast sounds weird
yeah,
to say. Like in my mouth, it feels weird. Quag Feast.
Quag Feast.
So Quake Feast, 1 and a black sorcery. Choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle. Mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. This is really strong, but also very balanced because there's 2 mana destroy something that's mana value 2
Mm-hmm.
with upside.
But forever
And-
upside.
Yeah, forever upside, but also it's kind of a slippery slope. At
It
what
is.
point does this become like a black disenchant, like in the future? Like
It's getting there. I was gonna say the same thing. Like we're getting to the we're threading that line of being disenchant. Like, and I know they're trying to put all those caveats, like the whole milling cards in order to make it more powerful later in the game. But the fact that you can destroy planeswalkers, vehicles, fine. It all depends if vehicles are very strong in this set, which I feel like they probably will
be. Yeah,
they're gonna definitely.
They're gonna be.
So it's essentially a disenchant in black, and like we're already getting cards that destroy enchantments prior to this too. So,
Yep.
It's getting a little crazy.
Next card is a card that me and JP, when we saw Morrow's list, we did mention that it was going to be a 13/13 with a cost, or that it will have a downside. And JP, we got it right.
Does it have a downside? Because all I'm seeing is upside here.
Hey, it's like what is Death Shadow, is it called, right? The 13/13.
Yeah, 1 mana 13/13, but this is barely a downside because it only gets negative X when it's actually a creature.
Exactly.
Like it's only that'll only matter when it's a creature. 3 mana, pay 2 life, draw a card is for 1 mana. So at 1 mana value, yeah, this is pretty good.
It's good. You just leave it there. It's an anthem for a while, and then when you're like low on life, oh my god, I need to crew it. I need to try to hit you.
Oh my
with
god, I
something.
need to kick you. I need to destroy you.
It's pretty good. The good thing is they made it a legendary artifact, so this is not doesn't become abusable real quick. But
having
yeah,
3.
No, that'd be. Oh my! Can you imagine having like 3 of them on the field?
Wait, isn't there like I don't think so, but isn't there like an artifact that the legendary rule does not apply in standard?
Maybe
some
weird.
Is Neon Dynasty still in standard?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, then no. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's
Okay.
not that. Yeah, we can. It's fine. I
Yeah.
tried to break it, but
A
no.
really cool card for sure. Really
It's
cool.
a really cool card though.
Yep.
So I want to take over my favorite Planeswalker card. I need this in all the artwork. um, so it's Chandra Spark Hunter. I actually thought that Chandra was going to be a creature, not a Planeswalker, but seeing
Mhm.
her in the
No,
Planeswalker form,
she's
So
like one of the
excited.
few confirmed still planeswalkers that
Mhm.
you're sure that she's a planeswalker.
uh, amazing, magnifique.
Yeah.
So Chandra Spark Hunter is 3 and red, legendary Planeswalker, Chandra, and it has a static ability. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to one target vehicle you control. Until end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and gains haste. Has a +2, a 0, and a -7 loyalty ability, and it has 4 loyalty counters when it enters the battlefield. The +2 does the following: you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Has a 0 that creates a 3/2 colorless vehicle artifact token with crew 1, and then a -7 that this is something that we have seen before, but with instants or sorceries or spells in general. Whenever you when oh my bad, -7 is you get an emblem that says the following: whenever an artifact you control enters, this emblem deals 3 damage to any target. We have seen this before with Chandra, but instead of like when it enters the battlefield, is whenever you cast a instant or sorcery or a spell, it does X amount of damage to your opponent or to any target.
Mhm.
I love this with the mono red deck that I'm already building in my head. With the following card that I want to talk about it as well, but we wait until we get there. But yes, this is amazing. This seems fun. Make red great again.
Boommobile is kind of interesting because it kind of like combos with anything. So it's two
Uh,
colorless and two red. It's a 5/5. When this vehicle enters, add 4 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. And it has exhaust, which is another new mechanic. Pay X 2 and a red. This vehicle deals X damage to any target. Put 1/1 counters on this vehicle. So what you do is you find a way to repeatedly blink this
Mhm.
that in a way that costs you less than 4 mana. So if you blink it with say a Deadeye Navigator, I know it's not in standard, but there's stuff that could come.
Jedi Navigator doesn't work because once this comes back, this like it's not crude, so it's not a creature.
Oh, okay. So you put something like Marshall the
Oh.
Machines, you make it into a creature, you crew it
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, but once it's blinked, it's not a creature again, so you can't blink it with Deadeye Navigator. But I get the idea, like the sentiment is there. Also, I do want to mention exhaust is activate each exhaust ability only once,
Yes.
not only once
Mhm.
each turn,
Yes.
not only once during your turn. It's only once, a
Yes.
Yeah.
single time per existence of the card.
Exactly. So if you blink it, you get to do it again.
Yes, because it is
Yes.
considered a new
A new
instance
copy.
of the card.
Exactly.
Otherwise, once the exhaust ability is triggered, there is no going back.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Who's
The
gonna
next card
goblin?
is Draconautics Engineer, one in a red, creature Goblin Artificer, 2/2. He has an exhaust ability. You pay red, other creatures you control gain haste until end of turn, and you put a +1 counter on this creature. And he has a second exhaust ability, which is 3 in a red, create a 4/4 red dinosaur dragon creature token with flying. This is the dinosaur dragon. This
Yeah.
makes the dinosaur dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so cool. Love it.
Pretty
Love
good.
it. Love it. Love it.
Pretty good for 2 mana, 2/2.
Mhm.
It has mana to sink into something good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about the first god. It wasn't the first god that was presented in the spoilers. I think the first god was the
No,
Civic
Temur
one.
one. Um, so I do want to talk about Hazoret. It's one of my favorite gods from Omcat. Is one of the cards that I played for a long, long time in mono red, and I still say that when I saw this card, I was like, Wizard of the Coast, what the heck are you doing? Why do I say this? A small explanation. Hazoret costs 2 mana. and it has indestructible haste, how it was before, but it starts your engine. So you will have your first start your engine numbering. So you have your first one. It needs at least 4. You need to be in max speed to be able to use Hazoret. So I don't know if Wizard of the Coast is going to print a card, a mono red card or a white card, because Chandra's team is the Cloud Sphere racing team that are Boros.
Mhm.
But there's a reason why I say it. So Hazard has another ability that's really interesting. In Omcat, you would pay 3 mana. You could discard a card and do 2 damage to your opponent, to your opponents. So it's a general 2 damage to everybody. In this case, you pay 1 and tap Hazard, and target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. Now, turn 1, you have your hasty boy. It could be anybody, but this is me thinking, and I don't know if it's gonna happen, yes or no, because it probably would be, I would say, a little bit too powerful having a 1 mana a 1 red mana 1/1, or yeah, 1/1 with start your engine, and you have already max speed 1. When Hazard comes to turn 2, you'll go to max speed 2. Turn 3, let's say that your opponent has a blocker, you can make your 1/1 or whoever you have on the field unblockable, max speed 3. In turn 4, if you have a burn spell, max speed 4, and Hazard can attack, and it's a 5/3 indestructible in your face in turn 4.
I do want to clarify something. Start your engine says if you have no speed, you go to
Exactly.
1.
You go to 1.
But it doesn't increase. Like if you
Mhm.
play another start your engines card, it will not increase the level.
Oh,
That's
no,
why
no,
you
no.
need
That's
pingers.
why.
That's it.
That's why.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I didn't mention that you have to play another. What I mentioned in regards is that if they do create a turn 1 start your engine, Hazoret has already it will be faster to get to Hazoret
No, for sure.
if in turn 1 you have something that starts your engine. That's what I meant. That's what I mean. You know, as well, being the fact that Hazoret is a legendary creature, obviously this is a card that you cannot have 4 copies in your mono red deck or your Boros deck. This is a card that you have maybe 2,
Maybe
max
3.
2 or 3. But the fact that you have a way, a very quick way, because it says that when your opponent loses life, so you can use a burn spell. That's
Yeah,
what I mean.
pinger or
That
something.
exactly
And
a
I
pinger
think
or something.
Rakdos seems to be the archetype here that allows you to
Mm-hmm.
ping, which generally that's the case. Rakdos usually does that. But I feel like in this case, if they just print here or down the line a few pingers, ideally, what will be amazing, but I doubt they'll do this because that'd be too broken. If they print a 1/1 that has haste, or a 1/1 that starts your engines and you can sack itself to ping the opponent for 1. If they print something like that, you could be like, oh, turn 1, I put this on the field. I start my engine, I ping you, I'm at 2, then Hazard, I put it down or whatever, I do nothing. Then on turn 3,
Mm-hmm.
there might be ways here to kind of go around that. But I feel like they design it well enough where you can play it early, but you cannot. It's very difficult for you to attack until turn 4 at the minimum. So
Exactly.
Maybe
Yeah.
turn 3.
maybe,
Maybe
but that's
turn
a
3. Yeah.
big maybe. Somehow you need to like produce enough mana to be able to start your engine on turn 1, and on that same turn be able to put it on number
Yeah.
2.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 1 mana. Like if a start your
If-
engines card 1 mana hasty creature exists.
Yeah,
Exactly. So that's why I'm still going to do a TikTok video about it, but I just love it. You guys can take it away from here. I've spoken
Uh,
enough.
Next card is Aganosaur Rex, 3 green for an 8/8 dinosaur with trample, cycling 2 and a green, and when you cycle this card, put 2+1 counters on up to 1 target creature or vehicle against trample and indestructible until end of turn. So 5 mana, 8/8 with trample, really stupid, and it can also act as a protection for a single thing.
Really
or as
good.
a finisher, because the +2 counters and trample is
Mm-hmm.
relevant.
It's pretty crazy.
So
Wow.
this is
Agree.
just a good all around card.
So
Yep.
Thunderous Velocipede.
Velocipede.
Velocipede. One colorless, 2 green. It's a 5/5 artifact vehicle. It has trample. Each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an initial 1/1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, it enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters on it as crew 3. This reminds me of a Gear Hulk. I think it was a green one, right?
The Green Gear
Yes,
Hulk,
the green
yes, but
one.
also
Portal gives
reminds me
you
of Tribute to the World Tree.
yes, that too. Yep, yep. It has a little bit of a previous design space that we've seen before, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, pretty good.
There's a rare here. Whoever wants to take it away.
Wacky races.
The Atchik Emerald Radiant, 3 black, black, green for a 3/3 legendary creature insect druid. When Atnik enters, create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, put a +1 counter on Atchik. Each opponent loses 1 life. So fill your graveyard, play this, make a bunch of 1/1s. If they die, this gets bigger and
Mm-hmm.
people lose life. 6 mana for a
Vizier.
3/3. I guess since you only want to play this relatively mid to late game is fine, but I do feel like 6 mana 3/3
It's a
is
bit much.
a bit
Yeah,
much.
it's a
Yeah.
bit much. It should have been. I know 4 might have been too broken, but at least 5 would have been a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have Caradora, Heart of Alacria. It's 2 and white green legendary creature human knight. It's a 4/2. When Caradora enters, you may search your library for a mount or vehicle card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature or vehicle you control, that many +1/+1 counters are put on it instead.
Uh, Kind of basic for what it wants to
Yeah.
do.
Very
And
Celestia.
very Celestia.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
Celestia.
just kind of does what it wants to do and does it well.
Yep.
Yes.
I do want to get this one next because I'm not gonna build this, but I really like the design space of Captain
Mhm.
Howler Sea Scourge.
Hey, Orengo, more pirates.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
He's 2 blue and a red for a 5/4 shark pirate. He has ward 2, pay 2 life. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn for each card discarded this way. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. I immediately think extra combats. You go looting effects. You go wheel effects. You want since you want to be dealing combat damage. Although all your creatures have flying, your creatures whenever they deal combat damage, you draw cards. I really like the design space of this dude.
This goes in my
Uh,
Locust God deck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep.
definitely.
I'll get the other one. Far
Please.
Fortune and Boss. 2 colorless, a black and a red for a legendary creature, human mercenary. It is a 4/5. It has start your engines. When you attack, Far Fortune deals 1 damage to each opponent. That's what I meant about Rakdos being pingers.
Mm-hmm.
At max speed, if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage +1 instead. So, well,
Wow.
just your standard Rakdos fare. I think at 4 mana for a 4/5 that can do 1 damage when it attacks. I think it's okay. Just basic Rakdos stuff.
Yep. Okay, and then we have Kaladin, Triumph Caster. It costs Boros, and it's a legendary creature human pilot. Mount and vehicles you control have haste. Whenever a mount you control enters, it becomes saddled until end of turn. Whenever a vehicle you control enters, it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, and it's a 2/3. One of the other things that this set has, and they mentioned, is that most of our legendary creatures will have their own like specific vehicles. So like Caradora has Legorin and Kaladin has Cloud Spire Sky Cycle,
Mhm.
and so on and so forth.
Uh, the next card is Loot the Pathfinder.
Oh my
Two
god.
green, blue, red for a 2/4 Beast Noble. He's legendary creature, double strike, vigilance, haste. He has 3 exhaust abilities. First exhaust is green, you tap it, you add 3 mana of any one color. Blue, you tap it, draw 3 cards, and the last exhaust ability is red, you tap it, deal 3 damage to any target. Uh, Someone already brewed this as a food chain commander
It's
because
it's it's an anything commander at
you
this point.
play you go infinite with food chain. So the food chain combo, you use either a Squee the Immortal, Eternal Scourge, or Mist Hollow Griffin with alongside food chain. Any of those 3 creatures alongside food chain, and you make infinite mana. Once you have infinite mana, you play this, and you can either tap it to deal 3 damage, and then exile it along with side the food chain and keep on going because of the haste, and because exhaust considers this a new entity, like a new card. Or you draw your deck in order to do something with that, and after you draw your deck, you can play this over and over again and add all the mana you need, because food chain only lets you cast creature spells with mana, but allows you to activate abilities, if I'm not mistaken. That's how this works. It's only creature spells, like for it's like, things that involve creatures, and this filters that mana to something else, and you just go off. This is uh, like an outlet. Other than that, like I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that I guess that makes sense. But for the most part, 5 mana, 2/4 double strike, vigilance, haste, that only lets you do everything like once. I'm not like it's versatile, but I don't know what you want to be doing with this.
Everything.
When I look at
Every-
legendary creatures and see like what it does, I view it as an engine and as a like an end goal, or like what am I supposed to like what direction am I supposed to take this, and I can't really say what direction this is other than the slight flavor fail that it's not a 3/3, because it's three keywords, 3 abilities, draw 3, deal 3, add 3 mana, and it's not a 3/3.
Can you imagine it being a 3/3? Because that'd be more crazy.
It's a 2/4. I think toughness.
Which is actually better. That's the problem.
yeah. I think
Well, when you think about it, 2 plus 4 is 6, so you technically have the
I
3/3 thing going for. I want to mention 2 things.
Mhm.
First, this is just gonna be annoying in CDH. This people
Yeah.
are just gonna brew the shit out of this, and this
I
is
don't think
definitely.
it's that strong.
I feel like it is. I feel like there's way to abuse it, because what you're just gonna do, you're just gonna do teamer good stuff, and you're just gonna hold off until you just have the necessary pieces. You play this loot, and you're just gonna win because you're gonna be able to stop everyone on the board by that point.
Because loot is 5 mana, someone said, oh yeah, you Eldritch Evolution this away for Hullbreaker Horror, do a Hullbreaker Horror combo, add the infinite mana, and go off that way.
There you go.
That's
So even
another
then, you
way.
still need it in the command
Jesus.
spot. The other thing is, I don't understand Wizards' intent on making this the mascot of Magic. We've got 3 cards, 3 versions of freaking loot in less than a year, and each one of them. Well, the second one was kind of mid, but the first one and the third one, they really tried to push it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why loot is the character that they need to push.
They need a BB-8.
They need a mascot, and also I don't mind that it's Loot anymore, considering Loot is teamer colors. And as long as they stop making Grixis commanders and Esper command, like maybe Esper is fine, but like we need in terms of the color diversity. For legendary creatures, we need more like teamer commanders, Abzan commanders, because there's too many of other specific colors.
That's fair. I guess I understand why people got upset by seeing Jace so much in different sets.
Yeah.
Back then, I get it now. I understand because I'm getting a little bit tired of loot.
Okay, so here we have
yeah.
2 new gear hulks. Or the we're missing 2 more, right? Because we have 3.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go and talk about our Azorius friend, and you guys can take over the Gear Hulk. So, Medicant Core Guide Light is Azorius, legendary creature, artifact creature robot. His power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. It has start your engines. And when you're in max speed, whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may pay one. If you do, copy it.
Yum
The
yum yum
copy
yum yum
becomes a token.
yum 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 yum. So good. 2
That's
mana,
so
delicious.
broken.
I need it. I need 7 copies of this. I don't. It's crazy.
It's a good card. It's a really good card.
Really good card.
Yeah.
Really good
I'm
card.
gonna take the Pyrowood because I feel like
Mhm.
Orengo can talk more about the Oil Deep.
Sure.
Pyrowood Gear Hulk, 2 red, green, green. So it's 6 mana for a 7/7 Vigilance Menace. Whenever this creature enters, other creatures you control get +2/+2, gain Vigilance and Menace until end of turn, and damage can't be prevented. 6 mana overrun with additional abilities will always be good. This doesn't need to stick around. You might as well treat this as a finisher. And
Mhm.
this is since this doesn't have haste, you might as well treat it as a sorcery. Because you play this, and ideally you finish the game immediately.
Mhm.
If not, you still have a 7/7 Vigilance Menace blocker and
Mhm.
hopefully attacker next turn.
Yeah. Oil Deep Gear Hulk. 2 blue and 2 black. A 4/4 lifelink ward 1. When this creature enters, look at target player's hand. You may choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards a card, then draws a card. This is Grief at home. So if you could never afford grief, this is your grief. I think it's fine. I think it's pretty good for the mana cost and the power. They get to replace a card, which kind of sucks a little bit, but I guess it's fine for control builds.
It reminds me of Thought Seer.
That too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
mana, 4/4,
Mhm.
takes a card, replaces it.
Yeah.
Except this has a lifelink and ward, and especially for a control deck,
That's why I
that's
feel like it's
really,
good.
really like the ward is okay. Ward 1 is fine, but
It's
the
the lifelink
lifelink
though.
is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. It's important because you can stay longer in the game. You can keep controlling the opponent.
Yep.
Yep. So
Okay.
wacky racers.
Oh, the wacky
Swear to
racers. I
God,
think
like
that will be the secret layer. That's
yeah,
the official secret
that's what I'm
layer.
thinking. It's not gonna be freaking Fast and Furious. It's gonna be wacky racers.
It's not gonna be family.
Mm-mm.
So
Mario
next card, Red Shift Rocketeer Chief. It's red and green legendary creature goblin pilot with vigilance, but you can tap him to add X mana of any one color where X is Red Shift's power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities and has exhaust that cost 12 mana, a red and a green and 10. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield, and it's a 2/3.
12 mana for that effect is fine, but like at what point is red green gonna have a large amount of cards and a large amount of mana to
Mhm.
activate this without already winning?
I
Yeah.
Like
know.
if it does feel
Yeah.
a bit win more.
Yeah. It's fun.
Oh
But yeah.
no, yeah,
It
I
is.
saw it and I was like, wow, how can I find as many cards as I can and fill my hand up and then add a bunch of mana to just play everything all at once?
Maybe like in a teamer deck, if this is inside of a teamer deck, you get to draw a bunch and then be able to kind of like activate this and
Mhm.
then go off, like draw a bunch, have
Uh,
infinite mana, do this.
I have a friend who has Agatha as a commander, and Agatha reduces the cost of activated abilities.
There you go.
This might be good in that.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Next card is Seed of Arma Master Racer. Green, blue for a 2/3 legendary creature human rogue. Has exhaust, X, green, green, and no blue. And you put X +1 counters on Seed of Arma. Then you may have the base power and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to Seed of Arma's power until end of turn. So you play this, eventually you pump it up, and that's your overrun effect. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
what the second overrun effect we've seen so far, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there's a common I saw earlier like a 5 mana common that gives +2/+2. So this set has a bunch of. It's gonna have a lot of creatures and a lot of overrun effects.
Yep.
It's probably
Which
gonna
makes it
be
good for the synergy. So in
Yeah.
limited or sealed, like as limited or draft, you can kind of like build around these type of synergies.
Mhm.
Um, so Winter Cursed Rider, it's a blue and a black legendary creature, human warlock, and it's a 3/2. By the way, have you noticed a lot of these
2 mana 2/3,
leaders?
2 mana 3/2
Yeah, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of them. They're really it's
aggressively.
that's aggressive and power creepy, if you ask me. It's a very
Yeah.
very much power
Yeah.
creepy. Yeah. So this one has ward, pay to life. Artifacts you control have ward, pay to life, which is already great. And then you have exhaust, 2 colorless, blue and a black. Tap it, exile X artifact creatures for X artifact cards from your graveyard. Each other non-artifact creature gets -X until end of turn. So it protects your artifacts, it protects itself. It's pretty aggressive at 2 mana for a 3/2. And then if you need to board wipe for low cost of 4 mana and a bunch of artifacts in your graveyard, you can just board wipe.
Mhm.
It'll destroy itself, sadly, because this is not an artifact. It is a human
Each
warlock.
other though, right?
Oh, each other.
Yeah.
Each other non-artifact. Yeah.
Each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I do want to cover this one because
Also
Zahur.
a 2 mana.
Zahur
Yeah.
Glory's Pass, a 2 mana 3/2 legendary creature, zombie cat warrior. Has start your engines. You sacrifice another creature, surveil one. Activate only once each turn. And at max speed, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token.
That's really cool.
This is pretty good.
And
This is
fixed.
Yeah.
pretty
Thank
good.
God it's fixed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Activate only once each turn. Yeah, fine.
But the thing is, it's fine because in those colors, if you try to make a commander deck with them, you just put all the other ones that don't have a limit of once per turn.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we are seeing like all the
Alternate
artworks,
arts.
Yeah.
alternate arts
They're very
Look at
for
Boomobile. I'm telling you, this is wacky racers. Look at that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Like the dude, I just love
Ready. Chandra looks
the-
amazing.
the
Mhm.
Chandra. Yes, looks amazing. See, wacky racers. There you
Wacky
go.
racers, bro. Wacky racers all the time. The Chandra doing the Akira.
The
bike
Akira,
slide.
Your
The
pose,
token, the token for I
Yeah,
think it's
also an Akira
pilot.
reference.
It's an Akira reference as well. Hazret looks gorgeous in these 3 artworks as well.
Mhm.
I especially like the red one. This one looks really
Yeah.
nice.
I think the red one is better. Complements the card better.
Hmm.
There's also a lot of these cards, especially the Gear Hulks. People talked about, and they mentioned in our TikTok too. They talk about the fact that it's like very much Yu-Gi-Oh artwork. There you go.
Yes.
So the
Yeah,
bright
look at
glass
those bright
Gear
glass
Hulk.
Gear Hulk.
That
Yeah,
literally
that looks very
looks
Yu-Gi-Oh.
they look like the Guardians, the Guardian cards from back.
Yeah, Gay Guardian.
The Gay Guardian. Yep.
Gay
They look like
Guardian
Gay
is
Guardian cards.
oh man, I don't remember the names. I know that one of them was started with an S.
Yeah.
Forgot.
He also
Sugin.
obviously look. Yeah.
Sugin.
Obviously, he also looks like Exodia, but yeah.
Yeah.
They remind
like
me of
Cap-
those.
It's
Power.
Exodia with all of the gems from Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
Okay,
There's also
so
the Aether Spark.
the Aether Spark, yes.
Mhm.
I started digging a little bit on the set, and apparently the Aether Spark is the first legendary artifact planeswalker as well as an equipment.
Mhm.
So the Aether Spark is a 4 mana cost artifact, 4 loyalty, and has the following effects. And I'll mention the loyalty abilities in a second. So as long as the Aether Spark is attached to a creature, the Aether Spark can't be attacked and has whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, put that many loyalty counters on the Aether Spark. Has 3 loyalty abilities. The first one's +1 that you can attach the Aether Spark to up to 1 target creature you control and put a 1/1 counter on that creature. -5, draw 2 cards. -10, add 10 mana of any one color.
It's very evasive. The problem
Mhm.
is if you don't have creatures, obviously you're not gonna play it if there's no creatures creatures on your board. But if they do like a board wipe, you're gonna be a little bit screwed.
Yeah.
It's very well protected if you stick it on something that has ward or God forbid hexproof. It makes it very difficult to interact with it, and you can start amassing a bunch of value on it. So, like in sort of like a Voltron type of deck, where you have like this one big creature and it's well protected, you can kind of stick that in. It's an interesting
Voltron
design space.
I have a
Voltron
friend
type
who
of
has
deck,
the-
you can build a Brawl Golos deck because in Brawl Golos is not banned.
Oh,
So
true.
and you can build it with Golos, and instead of making like Golos super friends, you make Golos legendary creature friends.
Hmm.
And you go ahead and you have this, and probably this could be one of the top 3 cards you played for free, plus one it, put it in one of your creatures. Hey, put it on Joda, the new one, the one that has as well the whole whatchamacallit, cascade for legendaries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I attack with Joda. Bam, Joda gets power equal to the legendary creatures you have on the game. So probably in phase 2 you can do -10.
I have a friend who has Raton Hackathon,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and he says whenever he deals combat damage, you create a 1/1 assassin, and then you target equipment in your graveyard and put it onto the battlefield attached to that target, to the 1/1.
Yeah.
So immediately, this is a recurable planeswalker and an
Mhm.
equipment because it's an equipment, and that's
Yeah.
funny.
That's crazy.
That's
and
crazy.
crazy because you could just after that he could just +1 and put it on Raton Hackathon, give it a +1 counter, and just go off. And even if you destroy this afterwards, you still have to deal with it in the graveyard because he'll just bring it back.
Wow. Wow. That's pain. I can feel the pain. So the other thing that we did get is a cycle of like roads. We have different like roads with
Raceway.
abilities, and those are the racetracks. And as well, we do have our new cycle of rare lands that are, if I'm not mistaken, these are the counterparts of the previous set, right?
Yeah, the
Sort
Verge
of the
Land.
counterparts, because it's a weird cycle because you would need 20 of these cards to have the full cycle.
I'm not sure they're gonna
Oh.
make 20. They're
I
gonna
doubt
make-
it too. I doubt
These
it.
are the
but yeah.
10 that they're gonna make, and they probably decided that beforehand. So, what I will say is that these lands are always really good. Uh,
Mhm.
Always keep them. They're always really good. At all.
Yep,
Yes.
no matter what. I agree. Yeah. I mean,
And
maybe
then-
down the line, maybe like in 5 years, they do the other 10 just because they need to fill it with something. But yeah, you're right. Like for the considerable future, I don't think they're gonna touch this cycle again. But it's perfect that they kind of did it almost back to back. So you have the
Yeah,
full
they did.
cycle.
They did. That's really good.
You know, I saw this card. I don't know if somebody wants to talk about this one or mention it right now.
which one?
But
The Soul
this
Ring?
one, Muraganda
Yeah, Soul
Raceway.
Ring. Yeah, Soul Ring.
Yeah,
So-
the Soul Land.
Yeah, I like it for one reason. It
It activates your freaking start your engines fast.
No, not only that. If you're playing modern, or I think that you can play it in Pioneer. You can play this, right? You have start your engine, turn 1 Bomat
Ooh.
Courier hits your opponent for 1. You're already in,
Not Ginger Brute.
or
And
Ginger Brute,
too. Yep.
and you're already at a max speed 2 in turn 1.
Yeah, you can, and with Ginger Brute, since they can't block you, you can achieve start your engines very quickly with this land. So there you
Yeah,
go. That's
there
the
you
way
go.
we broke it.
That's
We
the
broke
way
the
we
cards.
broke it.
And
Oh, God.
if you need other lands that allow you to like be able to attack faster, they have the Amonkhet Raceway, which also has
Mm-hmm.
the max speed creature. Target creature gains haste until end of turn, and they also don't come on tap. So at a baseline, they're just lands that tap for colorless
Exactly.
at the uncommon and common level. So
Mhm.
they're pretty interesting.
Going up, here we go. We have the
rest of the lands, yeah.
rest of the lands. We have the artwork of other of the cards. I like the loot. This loot looks so cool.
It's the only time I've ever liked Lutz is with that artwork. He actually looks like kind of badass, and it doesn't
Yeah,
look like a freaking League of Legends character.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Here's the Gear Hulks, the other ones.
The
These two,
oil deep
and
Gear Hulk looks so beautiful.
It
yes,
does.
it
Yes,
does.
agree.
It does. I agree.
So, what do you guys think about Magic being this now? This is Magic. Magic the Gathering is this.
I don't mind this, honestly.
Okay.
I don't mind it as well. Um, I do. This is another thing that I like to highlight. The whole that you have like the basic lands, and then you have the finish line basic lands in the gold. I really do want to know if the gold versions are going to be, if you're gonna find like foil and non-foil or only foil. I don't know. But it's interesting, the whole fact that you have like two versions, and
I
some
think
of
it's
them
gonna
have different
be.
artwork.
I know for a fact the foil version is gonna be. I'm not sure if there's gonna be a normal version.
Mm. I just
It
hope I
makes sense
just
to
hope
me.
that yeah. Then we have the serialized cards, that's something that we all know that was gonna happen.
Hmm.
I
And
think
there
this
we go.
there we go. Yeah, I was gonna say this is the god that we haven't not yet spoken of.
So frog thighs save lives. I mean, what?
Haha.
Sabsunen Luxa embodied. Three
I've heard
green
that
and a blue
before.
for legendary creature god. Reach trample indestructible. Sabsunen can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. At the beginning of your first main phase, put a +1 counter on Sabsunen. Then, if it has an odd number of counters on it, draw 2 cards. Um, so, Thick Thigh Goddess, a Frog Goddess, gets really big and draws you a lot of cards. And I actually think this is actually really good.
5 mana, you play it, you draw 2 cards. The next turn is a 7/7, which you can attack with. So yeah, pretty good. And if you have a way or you have a card that doesn't allow you to put counters on creatures or on permanents, which there are a few,
Yeah,
you can
but
just be attacking with this.
next turn it can't attack because it says that it has to have even numbers of counters. So
Yeah,
if it
but
has
draw 2
one
cards.
counter, if it has a one counter, it won't be able to attack
It would attack on the other turn. So
on the
Yeah,
other
maybe
turn.
you
later.
immediately it's like this immediately draws you 2 cards.
Hmm.
Yeah. It draws 2
I
cards
like
that
it.
it can't attack, and then gotcha.
So it attacks every other turn.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it won't attack the first turn, and it's what John said because at the beginning of your first main phase. So
Yeah.
you play it, it does literal nothing. Then next turn you draw 2 cards. Then the other
Unless
turn you can attack.
unless if you have a way to give it haste when you cast it,
Pour
it
counters
can
on
attack
it.
that. No, because it can attack because 0 isn't even is even. So being the
Yeah.
fact that it has no counters, it can attack, but you need
Yeah.
to give it haste.
I think it's
No, it
I
can't.
think it
Can't.
can't.
But it says,
It can't
well,
attack unless it has an
so
even
even though it
number.
has 0,
0 is even, so
No,
you can attack with
zero is
0.
even. Yes.
But that's what
Is
John
that
is
what you're
saying.
meaning?
Yeah, John said
no,
that.
that's what I'm
Oh yeah,
saying.
yeah. If you
When you
give it haste
cast it,
immediately, she can
if you can
attack.
give
Yeah.
it haste, you can attack. That's what I mean.
Yes.
I like it. And one of the other things, going back to Alice's question, last episode I did mention to JP, I liked it when we had blocks, when we had a story of one of the planes for like three sets or 4 sets or 2 sets, you know, but then JP explained a little bit on how these singular sets have been like bringing in story, touching, um, going more deep in like the lore of different planes, and I like it as well. I would have loved, I would like, that this would have been a block of at least 2 sets. Have Aetherdrift be like the beginning and have another set be the end, because I know it's just a race. It could end fast, but being the fact that the race goes in different planes, it would have been really interesting to have an additional set on the block. Make a little bit like how do you call it? Not make a little like interaction, like probably like the racers make it to one of the planes and something happened, and then they meet, I don't know, some big new baddie, or the beginning of a new baddie for our fellow favorite characters and whatnot. It would have been cool. But I really do wish that blocks were back. I
I
love the
have
fact that
to
gods are back.
I have to ask, what I'll be honest, what is the story besides
I
being
have no
erased?
idea.
What's the story? That's the thing. Like, and I don't know. I feel like JP brings a good point. Like, there is value maybe to the singular sets with more stories, like independent stories from each other that kind of like sort of converge a little bit because of the fact that Planeswalkers now are D-Spark, so there's something going there behind the scenes, and I get all that. But in terms of gameplay, I agree more with John's point. The problem is that since you have these singular sets, you have these mechanics that only function for this singular set, and we won't see this mechanic. We're not going to see exhaust for a very long time. We will see evergreen stuff like Ward, Cycle. There's a few Cycle cards. It's kind of good. It's kind of cool that they've integrated mounts, which came like a few sets ago in the another unset with the Cowboys. They introduced mounts, so it's cool that they brought mounts kind of quickly. So if they do something like that, I guess that's fine. But in terms of stories, I gave up on this a while ago. Like I am convinced that they feel that these singular sets with these gimmicks sell better than probably the block sets did, and they might have internal data on that. And I think we as players, when we used to play standard, we pretty much know that some sets sold better than others when it was a block
Yeah.
set. Like usually the first set is the one that's kind of like the hot one, the fresh one, the more interesting one. And then the other complementary set didn't sell as well because most of those new cards would complement the previous set, but not as much, or they wouldn't be as impactful in terms of power level, power creep. So I guess they figured out very quickly, okay, look, the idea of having multiple sets or 3 block sets is not something that's making us money or has garnered interest in the player base. So we're just going to do these one-off gimmicks because they're all gimmicks. They do just gimmicks all the time. And I guess they're fine because, they make people want to play this and have wacky racer cards. But that's why I asked before, like, at what point, like, when does this become like too much? Like, I feel like they're hammering these sets so much, they're conditioning us to just accept this because we have no other choice.
There is a point though, in a way, because unfortunately, Magic the Gathering's story has kind of left a huge blank spot in terms of villain, in terms of what the villain is, because the 2 main big baddies, they've been defeated already. In the entire side, actually the 3 main big baddies, because it's like Phyrexia, Nicol Bolas, and Phyrexia number 2.
And I guess you could argue Urza too is like a baddie, so I guess he's been defeated a long time ago.
Yeah.
He's a villain. He's not a good guy. So
But what I mean by that is during, like, when there is a villain, there's a goal to stop them, and we've had Nicol Bolas, a planeswalker, and Phyrexia that goes plane to plane, going around and wreaking havoc. But right now we don't have anything like that. So how do you go plane to plane without like having a story? So you do these singular sets to introduce a world. What I assume and hopefully, is what they're doing is that we will be revisiting these worlds more often than not, as in sooner rather than later, because of some reason that connects them. So we're probably, this is just my theory, we're gonna see Bloomborough, we're gonna see Dustmorn, we're already seeing Avishkar and Amonkhet. Like, we're gonna see these things a lot more often because then the story can process through these worlds, and they have to establish these worlds beforehand. You have to show, oh, this world exists. This is why it exists. This is the gimmick of this world. And when we return to this place, you will know this place. You will feel comfortable in this place. You will want to see what's next in this place.
But it's
'Cause-
all diluted to like a genre or a gimmick. Like,
no, yeah, no. They've already said that they're not, like after this year. In a way, it's kind of like a blessing that
mhm,
we don't have we were not going to have as many gimmicks as at least that they said as last year,
yeah,
because they don't want to do that again. So we know for a fact that in 2026 they're not going to do gimmicks. For this year though, if they're not going to do as many, at least that's what they said.
it's fine. They'll just
uh,
introduce Spider-Man instead, and we'll play with Spider-Man now,
exactly, we're getting Final Fantasy, we're getting Spider-Man,
which is coming
so
into standard. So how do you justify this into like the whole lore and continuous storytelling that they're trying to do? You know what I mean?
well,
Like,
those are universe beyonds, even if it's in standard. They
fair.
don't. They don't really count.
What if Jace shows up and freaking and hangs out with Cloud? What then?
I don't think the IP. I don't think
We
they.
we didn't think we didn't think we'd get Final Fantasy 5 years ago, JP. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a slippery slope. Everything is a slippery slope. We get conditioned, we accept this. Like, oh well, we got in 7 different gimmicks that, but this gimmick ain't so bad. And then that's how we kind of justify the fact that we allowed. I mean, fine, they realized it was a mistake to make so many gimmicks, but like you said, they're worlds that have been established. So obviously, we're gonna go back to them eventually because we have to, either for story purposes or because they need to flounder from previous worlds because you can only come up with so many worlds. I don't know. I feel like I understand what they're doing. They did this right after War of the Spark. Remember when War of the Spark was like a huge event and kind of restarted everything? And they
Yeah.
did singular sets for a while, and they did like the fairy tale set, and then they did Ikoria, and that
Yeah.
was fine because they didn't feel like gimmicks. They okay, so they did feel like gimmicks in a way that we're doing the Brothers Grimm, or we're doing essentially a Godzilla world, but at the very
Mhm.
least they feel like worlds. And
Yeah.
sure, you kind of have a pop culture reference, or you kind of have a literary reference, but they intrinsically work better with the fantasy world that is Magic the Gathering, as opposed to literally Chandra on a motorcycle,
Or oh look, it's Oko with a cowboy hat.
which is
Exactly.
it's bizarre because then the thing is, these worlds are not like when you go back to Ravnica. Ravnica, you can pull so many things from it. You can pull the guilds. You can pull the idea of how Niv Mizzet and Rakdos appear, and they have whatever they do in that world.
And
But
even then with Ravnica, they decided to do the detective stuff when
yes,
when they which makes no sense considering what's the other 3-color guild set.
yeah. I don't.
I forgot the name.
The other guild said, "Oh, it was yeah, I forgot to. It's the mafia one, but I forgot the name. New Capenna,
New
Capenna.
Capenna.
New Capenna is
New
right
Capenna.
there with
Yep.
mafia people. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yep.
Perfect for detectives.
But the thing is, New Capenna felt like they were trying to do Ravnica, but slightly different. So, and the
Mhm.
thing is, all these new planes that we're going to, I don't know the planes. I know the gimmick, and I know that like for Outlast, what is the plane of Outlast of Thunder Junction? Is it Thunder Junction? Is it called that, or like?
Yeah.
Okay, so what about Aetherdrift? Like, okay, I know we're back to, it's not Kaladesh anymore. What's the name
It's a
again?
Vishkar.
Avishkar, right? So we went back to Avishkar, but they had to tell us. If they didn't tell us, would you honestly think we went back to Avishkar?
A bit, but
A bit,
not
because
really.
of the gear hooks. That's the only reference you
Yeah.
would get, because if you see the gods, you would think you're an Ammon kid, but like in the future. That's what I'm saying.
No,
Like,
yeah, and in this set we go to different planes because the race is in different goes through different
oh,
planes.
it goes to like, okay,
Yeah.
so this is like Mario when you're like doing the
Yeah.
cart thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I guess, sure. You know what? I don't
Because
know, man.
the rifts, the portal things are open, it goes through planes.
Okay,
So
fair,
Planes.
fair.
so here's a couple of details of like the upcoming set. When this set passes by, the next set would be, give me 1 second. It'll
Sure.
be Tarkir Dragonstorm. So
Yes.
Tarkir Dragonstorm, I have somewhat of like what they want to like touch upon.
It's
So
in the
apparently,
name.
yeah, no, yeah, but like their idea is to go back to Tarkir, as dragons rip back through the Omen paths, as one of the 5 clans fight back to keep them from terrorizing the multiverse.
Okay.
So I think that with this one they want to go back, to have, get your normal Magic the Gathering set. From there we get Final Fantasy, but this is where it gets kind of weird. So after that we get Edge of Eternities.
Which is a space set, right? Is that the space?
Yeah,
one?
so
Yes.
Magic journeys into sci-fi and fantasy with Edge of Eternities, diving deep into space and the many planets of the blind eternities.
This is literally
This
an
space,
unset. That's the crazy
this
part,
space.
bro.
No, this will include the following things.
Yes.
This is how they say it. So this space fantasy set includes all the fun of spaceships, new planets, aliens, starfields, and much more.
It's an unset. It's the unset we had like a couple of years back. It's the last unset we got.
I disagree in
Okay.
terms of like, I understand where you're going for this with Infinity, but also I do feel like people tend to forget the Phyrexia is very much sci-fi based.
But I feel like they're not gonna do sci-fi in the Phyrexian way. They're gonna do sci-fi in the unset way.
In the Star Wars way.
They already mentioned planets. I bet they're gonna do
Planets and
lands that look like
spaceships.
planets, and they're gonna have someone with a little bubble astronaut helmet, and they're gonna have Jace again, but he's gonna really for real be a astronaut this time, and we're gonna have vehicles again, which is a good thing because then we get to have vehicles again, And since it's Disney, we're gonna have Star Wars somehow. We're gonna have like Darth Vader in that freaking set. Because it's space, and that's the thing. These sets, most of the time, they feel attached to also an IP, which is part of the justification of doing these in the first place. I start to wonder at one point, like, do they even do these sets because they want to continue the story, or because they feel like this is an opportunity for a franchise or an IP to be attached to this set to sell secret layers and or include cards within the set as like extra bonus sheets or whatever, and then these deals falter through and they have to like come up with the set anyways because it's already pre-programmed to do it. Because you see Ikoria and you're like, dinosaurs, and they actually commit because both Ikoria sets were glued together with an IP. We all make the joke of Strixhaven, but I think it was slightly confirmed that they were going to do Hogwarts, and then they pull from doing like the Harry Potter thing. So at what point do you think to yourself, are they actually going and doing the Aetherdrift thing because they want to like have this world, or they're having fun and doing races, or because they were probably going to do it with an IP and it fell through, so now they have to like commit because they do these things too far in advance for them to change their mind. And I don't know, like this sounds cynical, and I'm like prolonging this podcast just so John has an extra clip to put on TikTok, but but I just have to question. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna answer your question. Remember what you talked about, Edge of Eternities?
Sure.
There is a prototype that was presented, so there you go. There's your bauble.
There you go. And there you go. What? Whoa! So that's in the set. So
This is a test card.
Oh,
but
the test card.
This is a prototype of the set.
So that what I'm saying, that looks like, remember the unsets when you had the Shocklands and they were planets? That looks like that. That's what I'm saying. Like it
is
looks
Damnation with a different name.
Exactly, and it probably is. Well, no, it looks like it's a creature because of the way it's worded. So Thera, the Super Void, it sounds like a creature. It might have an ability like a removal board wipe ability, but yeah. It looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks pretty, like, for sure. And I'm pretty sure, the IP that's going to be attached for it, it's probably going to be Star Wars because, again, they have a really good connection with Marvel. I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility they're going to do something either with Star Wars or Star Trek. That's the thing. Like, it all feels like they're just doing this to justify having an IP placed together with it. And I don't know. Like, and I'm the first, you guys know, I'm the first one that does not care about the lore, but I feel like it loses the identity because it's just like, I like the idea of being sort of fantasy, sci-fi, literary based, like having these cards be within that realm. But when you're getting into pop culture territory, it just becomes a little too odd and asynchronous. It just doesn't feel like it fits with everything else that you have in your collection.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they used to do a good job at like melding eldritch horror with freaking dragons and dinosaurs, and that used to make sense, but now it feels like it doesn't. And at least, like JP said, they're trying to correct and improve on the errors that they made, The problem is, well, they do this too far in advance, and by the time they kind of realize they need to step back, you're still going to have like a full year of sets that people might not be interested in from an aesthetic perspective, because obviously from a power perspective or from a gameplay perspective, people like it. Do you guys like the idea of the speed, the starting your engines?
Yes, actually,
Okay.
because especially like I really enjoy how similar to the ring mechanic it is, and also the vehicles, the ones we've seen that are very good, bring something positive to the game.
I like the vehicles too. I like the vehicles and the mounts. I like
Yeah.
having those mechanics. Those are really good mechanics. Yeah, I think they're good, and I guess for standard purposes, they're fair, because obviously if you had something similar to the One Ring and being like tempted by the ring, those would be too strong on standard. But having something that you kind of have to ping the opponent, or something sort of passive that takes a bit to build up towards, I guess it's fine. It's fair. It's a fair mechanic. It's really hard to break it, and really hard to abuse it. At least for now. Maybe there's other cards that will come out, like the aforementioned 1/1 for one that starts your engines and deals 1 damage or whatever. But besides that, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any cards that will abuse the mechanic. So I think it's a fair mechanic too. I think it's cool.
So there are final cards that were presented today. I know that probably Ale and myself will post them later in the TikTok.
TikToks.
So
Oh,
in the
Samet.
TikTok, we have
Nice job,
Samet the Driving Force. It's 3 red, green, and white. Human Warrior Cleric 4/5. Legendary creature, first strike, vigilance, haste. It has start your engines. Other creatures you control get +X+O, where X is your speed, so they can potentially be +4/+O. Non-creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is your speed as well.
It's pretty good on Naya.
Mm-hmm.
Even like on a baseline, this first strike vigilance haste, it's 6 mana for a 4/5, but I think it's pretty good.
Because non-creature spells cost X less to cast. Eventually, if you have max speed immediately before, because this is 6 mana, you might have max speed before this hits play. Four like a 4 cost reduction is quite significant.
Agree.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Agree.
We do have our 1-drop, the 1 drop, but it does not have haste. It's a cycling card. But if you do discard one or more cards, put that many counters on this creature.
Oh, interesting. So there's sort of like another cycling mechanic. What was the
Mhm.
set that had a bunch of cycling cards that you could actually
Ikoria.
look at the Korea, right? So I
Yeah.
guess they're trying to do like a little subsection to have a couple of cycle cards in order for you to be able to kind of do a deck around
And
that.
if I'm not mistaken, I think that the Ikoria, like the cycling deck, was Boros.
Yeah, it was. It was. So yeah, I'll talk about the Voyager glide cart. 1 white for an artifact vehicle. 2/3. When this vehicle enters, scry 1. It's pretty good. Tap 3 other untapped creatures you control until end of turn. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature and it gains flying. Put a 1/1 counter on it and crew 1. This reminds me of that land from not Ikoria, the other one, the island set. I call it the island set, the one that had merfolks, pirates, and all that.
Ixalan?
Ixalan. It reminds me of Ixalan. There was this land that if 3 creatures attack, you flip the land, and it
Yeah.
also
Oh.
made it's like sort of has similar design space to it, because I'm pretty sure the idea with this card is to have a bunch of weenies and tap them, so you have this flying thing that can attack and hit pretty hard. So pretty cool.
This one is like,
The
Bonkers.
market back walker.
Yeah, it's a walker.
so Walker.
Oh no, I'm reading it
so,
already. Gross. Yeah.
Market back walker XX for a 0/0 artifact creature construct. This creature enters with X+1 counters on it. You pay 4 mana, put a +1 counter on this creature, and when this creature dies, draw a card for each +1 counter on it. Pretty good.
Pretty good. I mean, it's not as abusable as other walkers.
It's not walking ballista.
Exactly, it is definitely
Exactly,
not.
yeah.
Not even the other one. Not even Hangerback.
But speaking
Not even
of,
Hangerback.
of abusable,
Yeah.
Ketramos, the New Dawn. I love this card. 1 white black for a legendary creature god. Menace, lifelink, indestructible. Ketramos can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, draw a card and lose a life.
Ooh, that's cool design
You
space.
pass to exile, you solitude,
I like it.
you Swords to Plowshares. During your turn, you get to cantrip.
Yeah.
You play your Relic of Progenitus and tap it during your turn. You get to cantrip.
Mhm.
You play your Flicker Wisp. You play your Restoration Angels. You play your Felidar Guardians. You blink stuff. You get to cantrip. This card goes hard.
Yep,
I like it.
I like it.
Very good.
By the way, that's the next rare is the card I was mentioning. That it looks like it has very unstable art.
Yeah,
So
it
full
does.
throttle.
Which one? You mean Full Throttle?
Full
Yeah,
throttle.
full full throttle, 4 colorless, 2 red. Sorcery. After this main phase, there are 2 additional combat phases. At the beginning of each of your combats this turn, untap all creatures that attack this turn.
2 extra combat spells for 6
2 extra-
mana.
for 6
Pretty good.
mana. That's the wild part. It's for 6 mana. Wow.
But you get 2
that's really
combat.
good. Exactly. That's why it's so good because the baseline is what, like 5 mana for an
5
extra
mana
combat phase?
for 5 mana for an
Mhm.
extra combat.
So
yeah.
you're getting 1 more mana and extra combat phase. And if you get like any cost reducers, that becomes incredibly crazy.
Here's
like
your
that.
cost reducer.
I know it's right there. That's what I'm saying. Especially, yeah, with Samet. Yep, for sure, for sure.
Okay, the next and final card that was presented today, Count on Luck, is 3 red enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn.
And
this
has
card is
special flavored text because
Yep.
it says, "With your help, Loot, we're going to make a hell of an entrance," said Chandra, and in less than 15 minutes, she just came to regret those words.
Oh, it's great.
That's
The card
great.
is ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous
it
card.
is. It is ridiculous. Wow. Okay, so real quickly, we're gonna go ahead and touch upon the special guest and the commanders. Real quickly, like that, we don't miss any cards. And the special guest cards, one of them we already know. Well, we know all of them because they're all reprints, like always. So we're getting a reprint of Chromox.
Ooh,
This is
Very
beautiful
pretty.
art.
beautiful art. Expensive, probably.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're
We
getting
have-
Lord of the Undead,
Nordic and Dead. Pretty good.
Mhm. And the one that was
Classic.
presented today was Chandra's Ignition.
which
Eh,
very beautiful art.
It's beautiful, but it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
like
the
a great
beautiful art,
card.
yes.
It's just okay. It's okay.
Exactly.
It's
an
actually
okay card.
like it's at least like $13. I'm pretty sure.
That one's gonna be triple that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Especially the final what you call it, the finish line
Yeah.
artwork.
Yeah.
And then even though we don't have the deck list of the commanders, but
We have the commanders.
we do have the commanders.
It's 2, right? 2 commanders
Yeah,
this time.
I have 4 commanders because it's
Oh.
2 commanders. Sorry, 2 decks,
Yep.
Mhm.
and it's the main commander and the secondary.
But what I mean is, it's only 2,
Yeah, it's
not
only-
7,000 commanders per
Exactly.
standard set. We're kind of pulling back a little bit, which I can appreciate.
The first one is Temet Naktamun's Will. 2 white, blue, black for a 4/4 legendary creature zombie wizard with vigilance and menace. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Notice that is whenever you attack, so it is no matter how many you attack, he will only draw you 1 card.
Mhm.
If you give stuff like you have a double strike or a double strike and something an effect that draws you cards, you could go crazy and pumping your team. Just a zombie commander. This is an Esper zombie commander.
Yep.
The secondary commander for that deck is Hashatan Scarab's Fist. White and a black for a legendary creature zombie wizard. Its art is very, very reminiscent to a Necron
Mhm.
from Warhammer. It's a 1/3, and the ability is whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 and a blue. If you do, create a tapped token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie.
That's yummy, delicious.
This one's actually really strong,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and someone immediately mentioned, "Hey, you can partner Loris with him.
Hmm.
He
You
can be your
do.
companion."
Yep.
But other than that, this one's actually like really strong because you just like discarding is usually a cost, meaning this will trigger immediately after you discard, and paying the mana, it basically creates an uncounterable surprise 4/4.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
So we have Sahili, Radiant Creator, colorless, green, blue, and red. It's a 4/4 legendary creature, human artificer. When you cast an artificer or an artifact spell, you get an energy counter. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types and it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. It's good. It's not as strong as the Jeskai energy commander we saw like a few sets back. The commander
The
sets.
Horizon, Modern
The
Horizon.
Horizon ones. Thank you. The Horizon one. That one was way stronger, way more abusable. This one's like a fair version of that idea. On the plus side, it's target permanent, which can breed a lot of cool ideas with it. I like that it's also for artificers. Artificers never get any love. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool to sort of have that little subtype of artificers, which a lot of them interact very well with artifacts. So it's kind of cool to have that one too. Too bad it's cast, so this is not very abusable. Now you can't be blinking your artifacts or your artificers,
Yeah.
be playing a bunch of like, oh, I played this card, it makes me 7 treasures and then have 7 energies. Like they really thought of every other idea to not be able to make this very abusable, but it's fun. It's a fun teamer energy based commander. Then we have PLNR, Chief Mechanic. She's also Teamer Colors, is a 2/4 legendary creature, human artificer. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy counters. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar Aetherjet with flying and crew 2, where X is the amount of energy spent this way. I guess PNLR is very complementary to Sahili. You can kind of make it with PNLR. You can make a deck with her. It'd be kind of interesting. You have a bunch of like
Mhm.
weenie artifacts. You get a bunch of energy. Well, it says 1 or more, so you always just get 2 energy per combat phase. Never mind. They're fine. They're
Well,
fine.
you're gonna get 2 per player, no?
Oh, true. So you can get maximum of 6 per combat
Yeah.
phase. Theoretically, I guess that's fine. That's decent. And then in the end phase, you make a giant vehicle that you're able to crew it, and and it's not a legendary vehicle artifact, so you keep making a lot of Aether jets, and you can make like a sort of like subset of like having a lot of pilots, and then be able to crew all these and fly around and do fun stuff. It's a fun deck. I just like the kind of it's depowered. Definitely not as strong as say
Yeah.
the Scarab's Fist was. Obviously that one's very very strong, but I like it. It's cool. I probably won't buy it ever, but too bad. Sahili used to be good. Every
Yeah.
iteration of her, she gets worse.
I agree. I agree. So now that we have seen these previews or spoilers, at least what are your thoughts in regards to the set?
I feel like this set is gonna be fun. It's gonna be wacky. That can be either good or bad depending on how wacky. I'm glad that the gimmicks are supposed to start, slowing down. And excited for the next set more than anything because I don't think anything from this set is gonna. Even though I really liked the pirate, the shark pirate, I don't think anything from this set is for me.
I think I echo what JP saying. I don't think there's a few cards I might get for a few decks. Definitely the artifact stuff, artifact centric stuff. I kind of want for decks. But overall, yeah, I mean, it'll be cool for standard. I don't know how impactful it'll be for standard. Obviously, they're really pushing a lot the vehicles and the mounts, and they're trying to make them very playable, so people are forced to kind of like engage with the cards and the set as a whole. There's obviously some stuff, especially like more aggro-y stuff and maybe some control stuff that we'll see play in the future. Yeah, I'm not as excited. I'm more interested in what they do with Tarkir. I'm more interested in to see what they do when they kind of return to form, so to speak. See what dragons they bring or whatever. The whole idea of having, the yellow border, I guess it's okay. They've obviously been playing with borders. They've been playing with, different card treatments. The Japanese ones, they kind of have it honed down to a science. I think those work very well. Some people mentioned that they're a little busy in terms of artwork, but I think they're fine. I like the confetti foil that they bring with those cards. Yeah, I just feel like every set is losing a little bit of their identity. Hopefully, they kind of slow down the gimmicks and they kind of like do a little bit of return to form. I feel like there's possibilities here. These people, they're working on the design space and on the backstory and the lore and whatever. Just look to what worked, what used to work. I know that probably these gimmicks are working in the short term, but you might be losing more players in the long run. Thankfully, they're doing the pro tours. Thankfully, they're doing all these new events to incentivize players to play again in tournaments, play standard. I know that the foundations was literally, pun intended, a good foundation for a lot of players to kind of return back to standard, to play standard. And hopefully these new standard sets will make people engage with the format and want to play. And hopefully Spider-Man doesn't destroy all the goodwill they build with Tarkir.
Yeah. I'm with JP as well. I'm not paying attention to any of the cards. Only like Chandra, but it's just because if you guys know, I collect Chandras. Well, Chandra's my favorite planeswalker. I think that this set will be fun for standard if you are playing standard. Like I mentioned, at least for mono red players, if you're out there, you're gonna get some love. With Hazred and with other cards as well. Let's see what happens with the future spoilers. And we will do like we always do. We always do like our top 3 cards of the set. So expect that to come as a piece of content, like that we can explain to you the whys of why we love those cards. And probably more things will come with us here in the Cardboard Cave podcast. Now, round table, JP, where can the people find you?
You can find me here in the Cardboard Cave podcast. How about you, Orengo?
You can find me here in the Cardboard Cave podcast. You can find me in Cinemas Podcast. We have a couple new episodes talking about the best of 2024, and a new episode is coming in a few days, which will be my episode number 100, which is far less than we've done here, but it's still a milestone in terms of the podcast that I've been working on. You can also, find me wherever. I'm everywhere. I'm in all social media. I'm in all podcasts. And yeah, what about you, John?
So you guys can find me here in the Cardboard Cave podcast. I'm with Ale. We're everywhere in any of our social media platforms. We will be there to answer your questions and or comments, unless you go crazy on TikTok like these couple of 2 days have been. And as well, I do movie reviews as well. You can find me at Real In Films. I do movie reviews, series reviews, and as well I interview directors and actors and actresses. For now, it's been kind of slow, but there will be new reviews coming up this week. And as well, Friday yes and the Friday no. I am actually in the radio with cosradio.com. You guys can see me this Friday, when this episode goes live. This Friday, I'm going to be live on the show. And so you guys can catch me there talking about sweet movies. So nothing, guys. We will see you all. And I just can't find what I need. But we will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Rope until I cut it, bala pa tu cabeza, para delicadeza, habla la realeza, salva naturaleza, method for your mentalities, kill them with no fatalities, happy with all the cannabis, welcome to your reality.